Hello, everybody. I know my voice doesn't project very well, so I'm going to have to consciously try to let everyone hear in the back. So let me know if you can't hear me, okay? Yeah. Kind of need a mic, but anyway. I'm Joseph Jung. My last name is spelled J-U-N-G. A lot of people think I'm Korean, but it's actually German. I work here in Chicago. I'm a front-end developer at a company called Hologram, which is an Internet of Things connectivity company. We do cloud services and connection to your IoT device via SMS. We are not hiring, so don't ask me afterwards. Yeah, so the title of this presentation, I need to start my timer just because I don't want to go over. I know everyone has a life, and I don't want to take more of it, too much of it, that is. Yeah, and my wife and baby daughter are at home waiting for me. And in fact, I was really tempted to scatter pictures of my cute baby daughter all over my presentation, but I ended up not doing that for your sake, because I know that's enough. So this is a quick dive into a React Chrome extension. So this is, Google and Facebook working together again, just like we just heard, Angular and React working together, Google and Facebook. So basically, this comes out of a need that I had. So I've been doing front-end stuff for about 4.5 years now, and a consulting company, large product companies, and now this startup company I'm currently at. And people always ask me to do a lot of testing, a lot of Selenium testing. So I've written Selenium tests in Java, in Nightwatch, and in several other different, like Cucumber type stuff. And at this startup, at Hologram, I had to write another set of tests. And there are Selenium tests, and I didn't have any unit tests because we had to move fast. And I figured Selenium tests had the most value, business value, and we were just going quick. We had a lot of features we had to push, and didn't have time for a ton of unit tests. So I started writing these tests again, and yeah, I made a beautiful test suite. Took about a week writing all of these beautiful tests, and then we had, boom, a huge new feature set come in and really mess up all my tests. I'm like, this is just to do a bunch of changes to these. So I figured that I'm going to just write a Chrome extension that will record my actions similar to like InspectLit or many other. I think Hotjar is one to record stuff, and then also let myself configure it. So I built this Chrome extension using, just to solve an issue. I wanted to, okay, so the idea was to save time on Selenium tests. I just didn't want to have to write them. I wanted to generate the code instead of actually writing them manually. So the first thing I did is I went to my favorite design tool, Sketch. Who uses Sketch? Anyone use Sketch? Yeah, it's a pretty nice tool. If you don't know it, look it up. I quickly mocked out kind of what I wanted in Sketch, and then I started actually blogging about it. So if you ever want to read a daily development blog, I've been doing that for about a month running, so you can find it there. So I had this idea, I had a need, and I had an idea for a solution, and Chrome extension seemed perfect for it. So I started in on state management. We talk a lot about Redux, and prior to Redux, of course, was Flux. And then, of course, prior to that is like Backbone and all the other stuff. So I needed to know where to keep my state of my application. This is before I decided to use React at all in this extension. So I'm not going to go into the details of Chrome extensions too much, but a normal architecture of a Chrome extension is that you have different environments for your JavaScript. You have usually, like the window being acted upon, you can inject some JavaScript into that, into what's called a content script, which will be executed on the actual tab that you're in. And then you have this little button that opens up a pop-up. That's another thread of JavaScript running there. And then you have also an option to have a background page, which is very similar to a server. You can send messages to it and get a response. So I figured, where in the world does it make sense to keep my source of truth, right? Because I could keep my source of truth, my Redux reducers, actually not using Redux right now, but anyway, the source of truth, where is it? So anyone have an idea of which one I chose, which context I might have chosen for source of truth? Any guess?
Pop-up?
Which one?
Pop-up?
No, not pop-up. No.
Background.
Background page. I decided that's very similar to a server. And there are some rules that, I'm not being too fair, because there are some communication rules, like this one can talk to this one, but this one can't talk to this one. You can only talk this way, and this one can't talk that way. Again, I'm not going to go into the details, because I got currently 10 minutes and 11 seconds to go. Yeah, and obviously I did not make this little infographic. It comes from the Philippines. So, moving right along, I put the Redux Store into the background page. And so the idea, again, the idea is to, let me back up actually, real fast. Again, the idea is to load up a tab. You hit record, you start clicking on things and doing your functional tests, functional QA tests. You hit stop recording, you hit a button that says get code, and it gives you a bunch of code for your regression tests. And then you can configure them and like add little steps here and there. There's actually services like this already, but I didn't know about it when I first started this. Yeah, so now we have the different contexts, and so the first thing I did is I wrote a messaging service. It's kind of like a bus of communication between the pop-up, the background page, and the content script. And so it's very simple. You can't really see it, but basically I say message to all, add action, which is very similar to like your action type in a Redux situation, and then the payload. And that goes to the background page. The background page does its whole reducer stuff, and then re-emits another state. Then the pop-up can listen to it, and then the content script can listen to it, etc., etc. So the background page has a reducer, or a store, essentially. And again, I just emit the entire state again, back out into all the different contexts in the Chrome extension. So my first stab was vanilla JavaScript with string literals for the this is the first one. It's kind of podunk, you know. I was using literal string literals, as you know, and I was running into walls, like binding events and unbinding events and all that kind of stuff. But I got the basic stuff down, like recording and attempting a playback and generating the code was working pretty well. As you can see, it looks really crappy because I wasn't using React. It was a horrible experience. So I switched to React, and I just wanted to let you all know that we're all really spoiled now. We are very spoiled. When I first joined this industry, this career field, about 4 years ago, it was jQuery and just everywhere. Now it's so much better, so you can sleep well tonight knowing that your career is better than it used to be. So now I'm currently in a content script of a JavaScript executing, or a JavaScript environment executing in the tab, and but the thing is, I don't have browser routing anymore, so I can't use React browser. I'm sorry, React routing, React router. I don't have the ability to set up routes in the canonical browser way. So what I did is because I wanted to have different screens, I wanted to have a screen where you list all of your tests, list all the components that you can compose those tests of, and list like your code. I wanted different screens in my little application. So I set up a view stack, which is just an array of view models, and you're viewing the top one, right? It's at the bottom one of the array, right? The last one on the array. And so if you want to hit the back button, you just pop off the one at the bottom of the view stack and show the one before it. So you can have forward and back. And I route it just in the container component, kind of like in your Redux container component. Very simple. All I do is current route, if it equals dashboard, just view this. Very simple. I wish I could have used React Router because it's much nicer, but I don't have all of that nicety stuff in this. So styling, I use Sass, but I switched over to React, much better. It works great in Chrome extensions. I got so much better, so much higher quality UX from using React. And yeah, so I continue building it out. I did have an issue because when I injected my content script, it rendered the React into the tab, into the markup of the page. So this block here of code is actually running in the tab. So I had to use unset all, which is, I don't know if you all have used that before, but it just unsets all the CSS on an element. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So if you guys are putting like exclamation important on your CSS, it might screw that up, but I'll match it with putting important on all of my CSS as well. Yeah, so it's a fun race there. But I am working on getting it into a separate window. Thankfully, a separate window, like an extension like Postman, will be very easy because the source of truth is currently in a background page, and I'll be able to render it just as easily there. Moving on, authentication and persistence. I was in a content script, so I didn't have access to proper cookies as well. So I built a backend in a node, Keystone.js, very good CMS. And I just generated an API key. So when you do communication to the server, you're using an API key and not cookies. So the token lives in the JavaScript instead of an HTTP-only cookie. Oh, and I wanted to persist the tests, so next time you logged in, you had all your tests as well. So build process, I actually just got this figured out like 3 days ago. I wrote, so the Chrome store, the Chrome extension store, asks for a zip file with all of your assets and all of your scripts and whatnot, and a manifest file, which is like a package JSON file, just tells where everything's at. So what I did is I wrote a script that just timestamped a folder, I called it, and I put it in another folder called releases, and copied over all of the assets and zipped it up, and then in each of these folders is a zip file I can just upload to the Chrome store and release very quickly. So all I gotta do is run the script and upload it, and boom, I got a new version of it on the Chrome, the extension store. So the final product is a little tool that I use now every day to quickly generate my code, my Selenium code. And now if our whole product feature set changes and I have to go fix a bunch of code, fix a bunch of Selenium code, I just go to this tool and run it and fix it here, and then regenerate the code all in one big process. I just get all the code again, kind of like the immutable state of React. It's like you just get a huge new state every time. And so that's how this kind of works. And so this is some of my generated code. Currently, I'm generating in Nightwatch.js, which is a very good Selenium runner for JavaScript. It uses Selenium Server. The nice thing is, there are many other technologies coming out for getting around Selenium, such as Cypress.io, which is one coming out of California right now, and also one called Test Cafe. They give you a way to execute Selenium type tests in a different runner entirely, so it's less flaky, more debuggable, more maintainable. And so with this tool, I can just write another translator of these actions into new code, and it can be translated into any framework you want, and then you can get the benefits of the new frameworks coming out for test running. So this is end-to-end testing, regression testing. Well, not just regression. Regression is when you want to look for something busted that hadn't been busted before. But this can be for functional testing or for regression testing. And again, end-to-end Selenium or any of these new frameworks. So I got 1 minute 24 seconds for a Q&A. I hope I didn't go too fast. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
What's the next thing you want to build for it?
The next thing I want to do is make sure I have a couple more frameworks generated. Also, I want to improve the styles of actions that you can do, so you can put in new types of actions, such as like injecting JavaScript and more different like double clicks and stuff like that. Because I have really kind of basic actions right now. I want to get a little further into that. Also, I want to have I don't know if you know Selenium Ide. So that's a Firefox extension, very similar to this, but getting old. They have a playback, so you can hit play, and your test will run in the browser for you there, and that will speed up debugging. So you don't actually have to bring up a whole nother Selenium process to debug your code with just consoles. You'll actually be in the browser itself, and you'll be able to see things fail and whatnot. So yeah, that's another thing I want to put in. I have a lot of other ideas as well, but only limited time. So anyway, yeah.
What's the name of the extension?
Oh, Snap Test. Yeah, Snap Test. So if you want to try it out, I actually did just put it up on the Chrome store. I stayed up till like 3 o'clock 2 nights ago, getting it ready to put on the Chrome store, so it's actually there now. If you go to snaptest.io, you can just, I can get you an access. I currently have it in private beta because I literally just made it in a month and a half, and I want to make sure that it's good before letting anyone use it. I'm hoping it can be kind of like the next Postman for, Selenium tests, if you know what I mean, because a lot of us use Postman now because it's so much easier than curl requests. Go ahead.
We have a problem with our functional tests where if the data is different, then the tests fail.
Mm-hmm.
How does your tool handle data issues plus code issues?
That's going to be very hard to solve. Usually, my solution for that at work is to set up a mocking server, so a layer that, like a proxy that returns mock data for you if you have very complex data structures. If not, there's pre and post hooks on these tests if you can change the database to the state you want it to be in before and after your test run. But I prefer mocking, but again, that's not full end-to-end tests if you're mocking, so it's really up to you. It's not easily solvable though. Anything
What was
else?
the name of that thing you said? It sounds like Nest Cafe, but I don't think it was
Oh,
Nest
Test Cafe. Sorry.
2 words or?
No, it's one. It's an open source project
Okay.
currently. It's pretty cool actually. I still want to generate the code for it. It's nice because it's very similar to WebDriver 2.0, so it actually listens for Ajax to finish before doing the next assertion. So you don't have to put in an action saying, oh, I have to look for this element after this Ajax finishes. That's really kind of annoying. But Cypress.io is nice as well. I haven't been able to use it. They're currently in closed alpha, I think it is. So kind of new.
How do you go about debugging this?
Debugging what?
The action.
Like the actual extension?
Yeah.
So I have source maps. So I use a webpack process, and there's a developer mode for extensions. And so when I actually you can kind of see here. Here are my release artifacts. This is the release candidate, and this is what I harness to to Chrome in the developer mode. And this one has like source maps completely to it, so you have just as easy debugging. Also, Chrome is awesome, so it has like debugging tools for background pages and pop-ups and everything. They're pretty good. All right. Yes.
Do you encounter any limitations due to a platform of like the Chrome extension itself?
Other than the CSS thing, with unset all, no, actually, it's been very seamless. So React just works very well in the Chrome extension. I do plan on making it a script as well, so you can put it into your page without using a Chrome extension, and then I'll run into a lot of, cross-browser issues. But thankfully now, since it's just Chrome, I have the best of everything. All right, I went way over, so that's it.